1 in 5 Americans suffer from chronic pain. Many are now using CBD for relief.
Activists are hoping pot could be legalized nationwide by the end of 2019.
When we look at premium cannabis, the Illinois House approved legalizing recreational marijuana.
Welcome to The Budding Report, a weekly show centered around all things cannabis. Please join us in welcoming our host, Charles Horton, and his co-host, Melissa Nasits, as they share the latest in cannabis news, conduct interviews with top leaders in the cannabis space, and promote some of the latest in science and innovation. And now to our host, Charles Horton.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Budding Report. I'm lucky today to be transmitting from my home in Hawaii, so don't be too jealous. But one of our guests is kind of enjoying his sacrament too, so I'm a little jealous of that. I got a lot to do today, so a little early. But let's check in with our host, Melissa. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Charles. It's a little strange to be up here on the stage by myself. I do feel like the queen, though, in your chair, but I miss you. But I'm jealous that I'm not there with you. But maybe next time we'll do this live from Hawaii.
Boy, that would be nice. We all come to Hawaii, even our guests, and we'll have a good time. Chris, how are you from Austin today?
Oh, doing great. Beautiful day out here in Austin. I'm sure it's not as beautiful as Hawaii, but I'll take what I can get.
And Dr. Shaw, how are things in Arizona today?
Beautiful out. I think it's going to be a high in the low 70s. Sunny, clear skies. Looking forward to the time I'm here.
About the same as here, too. Our guest today is Elisabeth Mack with Holistic Caring. We'll do a better introduction with her on her section. And then David Warren Goodknife, Healing Sacrament. He's with us, too, in case they want to jump in on the news segment. But, Chris, I know you're really happy how the presidential elections have gone. And now let's talk about what that Joe Biden presidential victory means for marijuana in 2021.
Sounds great, Charles. I mean, to start off, it does look like Biden will be president. Obviously, Trump hasn't conceded yet, but it looks like Donald Trump's reasons for not conceding aren't going to hold water, and hopefully there's not some coup. So assuming that Biden is the president, there is a lot of support out there is the word I'm looking for. Support for marijuana legalization in this country. A majority of Americans, a super majority of Democrats. So you would think Biden would have a mandate to go in there and have legalization or decriminalization as part of the agenda. A little bit of the problem comes in some of Biden's record with supporting kind of draconian crime bills in the past, but that was about 25 years ago, and he does have Kamala Harris, who does have a little bit of her own baggage on the cannabis front. However, Harris is also a co-sponsor and a bill writer of the MORE Act, which would legalize. So looking at it all, it's obviously better to have Biden as the president than Trump, because Biden does have decriminalization on his platform, but he's not going as far as legalization. And I don't think we're going to see a legalization bill as long as the Senate is still controlled by the Republicans. And I don't think Biden has the desire to do full legalization. So I think the best we'll probably see under Biden is decriminalization, expunctions for past federal convictions for marijuana, and a lack of interference in states that do pass it. But I don't think you're going to get much more, barring some, well, I wouldn't say it's a miracle. I think there's a good shot that with a lot of support, we could see the Georgia runoffs turn into two senators. If that happens, it would be 50-50 with Kamala Harris, the tiebreaker in the Senate. That would basically make Mitch McConnell have no power anymore. And Mitch McConnell and the undemocratic Senate, the very undemocratic Senate, is the huge impediment to any type of reform to get cannabis into legalization or decriminalization right now.
Well, I will say, too, that Biden has come out and said that he felt that his past decisions and, like you said, draconian criminalization of drug abuse and drug use was a mistake. I mean, he's come out and said that. So I think that there's a good chance that, you know, like you said, with the amount of Americans that are saying that they're for the legalization of marijuana, that it would be something that was seriously looked at.
So I was reading a post on Facebook today, and one of my friends in the industry said legalized marijuana is coming to Texas, and then somebody else came in and said no. The Republicans have even taken it off their platform, and it's not even being considered. Chris, what do you know about that? I try not to put too much basis into my Facebook news.
Well, here's the problem in Texas, Charles. There is a majority of Texans and a majority of House of Representatives, State House of Representatives, that do favor decriminalization in Texas. It actually passed in 2018 with a bipartisan legislation. Even the Democrats are a minority in the Texas House. They got enough Republican House members to go along with it. Why is it not decriminalized in Texas? Because that's really the first step to get towards legalization. So why is it not decriminalized? It all falls on one person. Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, refuses to put those decriminalization bills on the floor of the Senate, and if they don't get on the floor of the Senate, they cannot pass. So he is public enemy number one to cannabis in Texas, and if you want reform here in Texas, get after him in 2022. Make sure you fund his opponent, whether you're Libertarian, Democrat, or whatever. Get Dan Patrick out of there.
So Can you not say Republican, Chris?
So Chris, I gotta step back and ask you a question. When we talk about decriminalization, I'm wondering if that necessarily goes hand in hand with descheduling. So in other words, would cannabis at the federal level still retain a Schedule I and it just have a decriminalized enforcement, or is one required to achieve the other?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Dr. Shaw. In my opinion, you cannot have decriminalization with cannabis or marijuana. We'll call it marijuana because that's the part of the plant that's illegal. That's what it's defined in federal law. If it's on a schedule, it's not decriminalized because those schedules, Schedule I obviously is the most draconian, the word I've been using today, but the one where they put you in prison for a while. And I saw some mention of putting on Schedule II. Schedule II has cocaine and methamphetamine on it. What improvement does that make to put marijuana on Schedule II? So it does have to get off all the schedules, because if it's not off all the schedules, then the DEA has a right to go enforce those laws. And the only thing that would impede it would be an executive action from the president saying, don't do that. But and that's not decriminalization, in my opinion. Decriminalization is legislation that takes it off the schedule so that you cannot face criminal penalties or prison time for possessing marijuana.
Yeah, so I think that's a very helpful explanation for our listeners. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Well, I'm hoping for a fantastic 2021, getting things moving. Well, we're going to go off to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Elisabeth Mack.
Coming to you after our hike that we finished. Buster exercises 3 miles. Today is a recovery day because he did 8-mile hike over the weekend, broken up into 2. But what I want to share with you is this company here called Simple Changes. I learned about them and I absolutely love the concept. It's wellness, community, and organization. So as you can see here, I love the wrapping, I love purple, and it comes with 3 products. So I've been trying them out. First, it's the hemp oil spray, then it's the hemp oil dropper, and the hemp oil ball. So I'll be trying all of these out. I've been exploring them, exploring the ingredients. I met with the team on Zoom. Really neat product. And I love the fact that they also want to incorporate healthy practices. So they come with a little journal and something about simple success guide. So, Simple Changes.
I'm excited to introduce our next guest. Elisabeth Mack is an RN, a BSN, and an MBA, founder and CEO of Holistic Caring. She founded Holistic Caring in 2016 to bridge the gap between traditional cannabis medicine. Educational provider for the California Board of Registered Nursing, a member of Society of Cannabis Clinicians, and on the board of the American Cannabis Nurses Association. Her background includes decades of hospitals where she specialized in diabetes, medical units, and psychiatry, which I'm very excited. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I'm really interested to hear about your cannabis journey, Elisabeth. What sort of triggered and brought on your use of medical cannabis?
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be here. I actually found cannabis as medicine myself. I crashed my bicycle, went out on leave to have surgery, and I was at my chiropractor's office, one day, and she says, "Why don't you have Denise work out your shoulder?" And she gave me a medical massage, and she was using CBD in the oil. And I said, "What is this? It smells funny." And she goes, "It's cannabis." And I said, "I don't want cannabis." Well, but then she proceeded to tell me I have an endocannabinoid system, and it's going to minimize my inflammation, help me heal faster, reduce some pain, and restore function. So I said, "Sign me up," and I started studying, and I've been in this line of work ever since, because it just it really captivated me. And I said, if I could learn this and heal my own self, then I have to do this for others. And that was how I got into this almost 6 years ago.
That's fantastic. The name of your book is Cannabis for Health, Become a Coach. Why did you use that word as opposed to something like expert or professional?
Well, I like the term coach because, it really needs to be all-inclusive, a spirit of unity to get us all into the idea that people that have a healthcare background of any stripe, chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopath, eventually physicians and nurse practitioners and other RNs, but they're a little leery of the Schedule I. But coaching can be anybody. So anybody that has a good health background can jump in the pocket and help people to really do a risk assessment and a cost-benefit analysis of cannabis medicine in conjunction with everything else. So I like the term coach because it includes everybody.
So your book refers to several incredible cases that involve medical cannabis's efficacy. One specifically involved a patient that was using a high level of Percocets daily and was required to reduce her opiate use. Could you tell us more about this case?
Yeah, she had an accident, and then she had some central pain, post-stroke pain. She was taking 8 OxyContin every day. And, this actually is par for the course in so many cases in America. And then, what happens? So the doctor says you need to cut that down to 6, and then 4, and then 2. And so people are being weaned off of the opiates, but they don't have anything else to go to. And so, I introduced her to shopping at the local dispensary, finding a 1-to-1 oil, using some 1-to-1 chocolate, getting a vape pen. And over a period of a month, she had gotten down to the 2 OxyContin per day. And the progression and the healing that occurred was measured, and it was responsive. The body is so amazing, it will heal itself. But the other thing with opioids is they trigger opioid-induced hyperalgesia, right? And so every time you take a pain pill, the condition worsens. And transitioning to cannabinoids little by little, so you wean the opiates down, you raise the cannabinoids up, get them to a good level where they're not in pain. And cannabinoids can treat the pain, treat the chronic pain, treat the central pain, and the neuropathic pain, as well as the emotional components that people have been holding on for years and sometimes decades. So it can be done very methodically, and then you just read your body and make those pivots and adjustments. And that actually is one of the hardest things, is to get people to really be in tune with themselves and not just say it's time to take a pill. So it's a wonderful way to work with people to bring them back to wholeness.
Yeah, I think that there is going to be ever increasing reliance on using cannabinoids for pain management to offset opiate use. I've done a couple of case studies myself having similar results, and I know at least out here in Arizona, the president of the American Arizona Pain Society has a practice. He's an anesthesiologist, pain management physician, and he has presented at conferences showing that he's been able to reduce the overall kind of milligram average in his clinic and down to milligram per patient for chronic pain disorders by implementing CBD and other kind of cannabinoid therapeutics. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we're at the vanguard of this. We're only just beginning, and it's not just opiates. Whether it's neurodegenerative conditions or neurological or pain or mental health or cancer, there are clinical implications for just about every condition that we have because of our ECS. Yeah.
So Elisabeth, with all the focus right now on recreational use and outright legalization, do you have any concerns about the state of the medical cannabis community, and how can we keep the focus on medicinal use?
Well, I do. So I'm also on the board of NORML here in Los Angeles, and it's a two-step process. We want to normalize cannabis use for all Americans so that we can assuage their fears and let them know that it's one of the safest compounds they can use. But we also need to have that same conversation to bring in more medical professionals and healthcare folks that want to be coaches in this so that we can build the medical door. And, I really have a dream that one day we're going to have a completely different tax system. Here in California, you go to buy a $100 tincture and then you get a $35 tax on top of that. It kind of really defeats the purpose and makes a parody of the medical system. So, in my dreams, I have two systems where we have a medical door with people that are using cannabis medicinally, healthcare professionals that are in the surrounding areas of that dispensary, able to have conversations and lead people through proper product choices, dosing, timing, interactions, etc., and really having this as a medical discipline and a pathway, and then having a separate pathway for the recreational use to normalize and allow people to use this in lieu of alcohol, in lieu of other pharmaceuticals and Xanax, and we're all a little stressed at this time, and so we really do need to have two pathways and more legislation to really encourage that.
So I have a question really quick before we move on. So you talked about the taxes in California, and I know it's different state by state at this point, but are you worried at all about big pharma coming in? I mean, you talk about a 30% tax. I mean, we all know how pharmaceuticals work. As a type 1 diabetic, I know what I pay for insulin, and I know what other countries pay for it. I mean, is that a concern?
Well, I spent my first decade in hospitals and the next 20 years in insurance companies. So I really do believe that we need to create the pathways for safe, standardized, reliable, consistent formulations. And, GW Pharmaceuticals has done that. And if you compare and contrast, a bottle of Sativax that could go on the market, it's right now in phase 3 clinical trials, but that same 1-to-1 oil that somebody could buy at a dispensary for $100, they can buy, on prescription once that's released for $3,000. It's a little crazy when you think about what the pharmaceuticals are going to do to the pricing. But then, the contrast is that it'll be covered under the formulary and open it up for more patients to be exposed to this. And then at some point, it's going to normalize and we'll be able to have more a parity in the marketplace where I don't know what this is going to look like, but if we can get safe, reliable, standardized formulations that are from GMP facilities on the CBD side, then we can introduce this to more people. And I have also a dream where we're going to do a study where employers can have a self-funded program where we introduce CBD to them and allow us to study then to say, okay, what other pharmaceuticals can we reduce? Because when you bring in CBD, good quality CBD, and you can really modulate this endocannabinoid system for people, then we can start looking at medicines for diabetes and blood pressure and hypertension, depression, anxiety, all of the neurological things, autoimmune conditions. And so, you can offset the cost of the cannabinoids with reductions in the other ones. But again, that's a different conversation. And we'll get there. For today, it's just enough so that everybody gets access either through a dispensary or a good CBD store once they understand how to shop for safe, effective products.
Elizabeth, in practice, what have you seen so far when states that had medical use take in recreational use? Does the medical use seem to go away, or are they working hand in hand together?
Well, in California and almost all of the places where we started out as medical, and there was a lot of hoopla about how this works as medicine, those conversations really dissipate. They sort of wean off as recreation's introduced. And so, as part of NORML, it really does need to say, we need to have this conversation as a country. And that goes back to what Chris was talking about on the federal side, to allow this to be seen as a medicinal botanical formulation that really can work almost miracles. So, we want the recreation to exist, but we really need to accelerate the other side of the ledger in treatment protocol conversations so that, the medical doesn't get shut out. Because when we just normalize recreation, everybody has fun with it. But we really need to continue to have that conversation. And for that, we need to bring in more healthcare professionals.
Yeah, and this is what I've been saying all along, and why I do patient case studies and hope that this trend will continue across the country with healthcare providers, because I think that is the best way to combat the pharmaceutical kind of invasion on this. If we have some kind of a public database of all kinds of research that is actually conducted by healthcare professionals, it will speak a lot towards an argument against why pharma has to establish their own studies and standardize it, so to speak, so then they can just proprietize it. So that is where I think healthcare providers can move forward to try to combat this pharmaceutical invasion on the cannabinoid medicine.
It'd be nice though if insurance starts covering it.
Absolutely. Well, what a great discussion, Elisabeth. Thanks for being on. For our viewers, you can look up Elisabeth and all of our guests at thebuddingreport.com, get their contact information. They'd love to network in these days where we can't get together in the live networking groups. This is what we're doing instead. So please reach out, contact our guests, do business with our guests, get knowledge. They'd love to share their knowledge. So again, thank you very much for joining us. Elisabeth, we'll be going to a commercial break, and then we'll be right back with David. Thank you.
Hello. Here on my lunch run in the middle of the heat, where I get my break really quick after training clients and leading some classes. I am taking my Simply Satisfy. It is 3 sprays, organic hemp. Next one is my Simply Start. You can take it twice a day or once a day. I already took one morning dose. I'm now taking my afternoon dose. One little yummy organic hemp. Check them out. Simply Generous. Helicopter. All right, time to go training. Run down the hill. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Well, Charles, I'm having a little bit of a problem not having you sitting up here because I don't have anybody to make faces at during the commercial break, so it's a little sad. Anyway, thank you so much to Elisabeth. We're excited to have David Warren Goodknife on next. He is the founder of Healing Sacrament. He's a fire chief, traditionalist, sweat lodge leader, firekeeper, and lodge builder. With over 25 years of participation within ceremonial promoting knowledge, healing, and spiritual awareness. He's a certified chemical dependence counselor as well, and a personal recovery coach. So David, we're very excited to have you here. Please tell us more about your role as a community spiritual leader and the concept of healing for healers.
Thank you, dear. Thank you all for having me on the show this morning. I'm going to jump back and digress to what Miss Elisabeth said is about the recreational and the medical. It's been part of our mission with Healing Sacrament to also open up the other reality. It is and tap into the clergy and the healers out there in the metaphysical reality. I love, Elisabeth, your coach concept, because really humanity has received so much negative dogma in regards to cannabis as a whole. So much fear has been bombarded. Humanity we've received so much bombardment that making that shift is going to require the coaches. It is going to require the chiropractors, the masseuses, even the barbers, because a barber was a practitioner in the old reality, not the new one. And getting them to do the one-on-ones with our fellow beings, and making that shift through the loss of the fear. That is quintessential. All the teachers, the metaphysical teachers, are speaking out. Yes, we have the political agenda, but we have a lot more power through prayer and meditation. So the seekers are paying attention. They're putting it out there as also the spiritual reality is, I believe, is quintessential, and that's been our mission from the get-go. It's not just recreational. It's not just medical. We have to cease looking at the body, the being as just mind and body. We have to include mind, body, spirit, emotion, vibration, all five of them. And that disconnected we're experiencing is harming humanity. And that is our mission, to bring it out and to work with it, empower the healers, empower the yogis, empower those that are in touching the clergy. We've authored, we call it the Budista training, that will go out there and not only educate clergy, but civil servants, police, parole, all of those other institutions that are out there need the awareness and the awakening, because we've been hearing the age of Aquarius since I was a child in the 60s. We are entering there. We're just days away from that galactic change.
Well, David, we have a lot. We have a lot in common. I've been on a path of teaching firewalk instructing around the world, and as part of that, we do sweat lodges. I have an Aztec-style sweat lodge in my backyard, and I'm building out a retreat center in East Texas right now near Marshall, where I'll have that as well. And I'd love to do that with you at some point. But what are the effects of smoking hemp and CBD and its enhancement with the use of remedy roll plant medicine?
We're bringing into the remedy rolls the old traditions, pre-FDA and all the other things. We're going with my mindset. I'm going to the data before all of this modern age became, our reality. So we're utilizing bearberry, willow bark, marshmallow, lovage, yerba santa, mullein, comfrey, a dash of sage, and adding that with the hemp flower. So we already know that the hemp, the cannabis has its magic, but we're also bringing back the other herbs that all got lost during the era of quackery. Again, a CIA and that term. So we're bringing that back into humanity, because all those other magical herbs were lost as well in the 1920s when pharmaceutical industries took control of the education curriculum for the medical industry. So we're jumping way back into data, ancestral data, ancestral intelligence, and going that way. And that is our mission, to bring it out. Did that answer the question good? You got it?
You did, and I think you answered a couple of our other questions too.
So,
and I look forward to getting in the mud with you in Texas.
That'll be fun.
So I'd like to take advantage of your considerable experience in use of cannabis in traditional healing. So I really want to focus on the following. Virtually no causation has been demonstrated between smoking cancer and development of lung cancers. And so I'd like to know if you've observed a similar result in all of the individuals you've dealt with using smoked cannabis over your years of practicing traditional healing.
I see a lot of individuals recoiling when you say, here's a smoke. People say, I don't smoke. Oh, I don't smoke. So we have to combat all the dogma and the fear that the tobacco industry has put into our culture. Smoking historically has been a remedy for millions of years. Thousands, millions of years, a long time. And breaking that down, I'm just appalled when you go into dispensary and there's that big plaque that says that the state of California has determined that smoking is cancer causing in a dispensary, and there is no data whatsoever in regards to that. And the AIMER, the American Indian Movement kind of guy wants to go up there and just tear down them signs because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today on the Budding Report. Please, again, look us up at thebuddingreport.com. But again, thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week. And again, me being in Hawaii, see you next week on the Budding Report. Bye.